Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now in today's video I'm getting started on a project. Here in my hands I have the Ontario Knife Company 499 mod. Now this 499 mod is similar to the 499 model, only a little bit different. The knife is still made in the USA, and this was given to me as a present from Joe from Survival Attitude. So before we get too far, I would like to say thank you very much to Joe at Survival Attitude. So survival_attitude on Instagram. So Joe, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. But yeah, this was given to me as a gift from Joe. And there are a few things about this that I naturally gravitate towards. There are a few things that for me to use this as a good hard use field knife, I would have to modify. So not only is this the 499 mod, but I'm gonna have to mod the 499 mod, and that's what we're getting into today. Now if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what I'm about to get into, do me a favor, stay tuned. So here, the Ontario 499 mod. Now as you look closely here, you will see that this is item number 6612TC. Now there's not a ton of information out there. There is some, but just not quite as much as the straight up 499 model. And as you look closely here, you will see that this says this is a high carbon steel. Now obviously high carbon steel could be one of a number of options, but if you look at the standard 499 model, it is 1095. So it's my assumption that working with this here in this 499 mod, this is also going to be 1095 steel. So now as we get into this for the first time, I'm going to open the package, get this thing out, and we'll take a look at it in some details. Alright, so this 499 mod, as you look here, this knife is an overall length of 9.5 inches with a 5-inch blade length here. So good sized knife, but the problem for me is I just don't like having an upper guard. So as I feel here, this is just a little bit loose. I need to be careful. But what I really would like to do is probably remove the upper part of that guard there, grind that right off so that I have a better purchase for my thumb. Now this does have these, it's not serrations, but these ridges on top. This basically gives you the ability to do some notching. So I do need to be a little bit careful, but I would like to bear down, maybe if I'm wearing gloves, and just get my thumb for some better, control of the knife. So having that upper guard doesn't really work so great for me, so I need to play around with this a little bit, figure out a way to get that fashioned right into place, and then probably just lose the top of that guard altogether. So as I mentioned, this guard is just a little bit loose. Now as I look, I should have the ability to grind this down fairly far without too much problem, really get myself the purchase I'm looking for. However, what I've decided I'm going to do, and I can hear it already now, really super glue? Well, yes, I am just going to heavily super glue this guard into place. And the reason why I'm hoping it's going to work now, granted, this is a little bit different, but here is my Mora companion. We saw this in a 2-part hard use test to the point where I finally snapped it. Now after the first part, I had loosened up the blade and the blade tang actually broke inside the handle, and I heavily super glued it back into place. And in part 2, the super glue actually performed better than the blade itself. Now the difference being the polymer material of this handle, I think really kind of melts a little bit. So this is a fully metal construction here on the 499 mod. It may not work quite as well, but I'm certainly willing to give it a try. And so now that I've glued this guard into place, the next thing for me is I really want to dye this handle. Now, lately I have been experimenting with dye, and I have this nice deep, almost olive green dye here, which if it takes well into the leather, should give this a really good look. Now, I have no idea what's going to happen, and I really don't care. It's totally worth trying. But the other thing I'm also going to do is dye the sheath. So hopefully by the end of this, both of these being pretty well done to match, and then I'm going to heavily wax the entire system. Now, in order for me to get ready for the dye, I am just going to cover up the metal on the pommel here just with some tape, hopefully help to protect it. Then I'm going to dye these handles, let it set overnight, let everything firm up, and then we'll work on the guard. So as I get into this here, I have no idea what to expect. However, what I do know is I am just gonna go for it. Now, a couple of things is I've gotten my hot air gun already started up to temperature because I want to open up the pores. Look at that, the super glue. Oh, the super glue. As I was saying, I got the hot air gun up to temperature because I want to open up the pores of this leather here, and that I think will help soak in the color a little bit deeper. I have no idea how far this is going to go. This is probably not overall the best method to doing this, but I don't want to waste too much of the dye, and I can't really put it in a different jar right now. So, hey, it is what it is. I'm just going to deepen these scales up. If anything, maybe it just gives them a little bit of color. I'm going to do one item at a time here. So first, focused on the knife. I'll set this aside. I'll get it ready to dry, and then I'll do the sheath. Now, I do think, in a perfect world, if I was able to really dunk these and let them sit submerged for a long period of time, it would do a much better job. This is the best I can do, like I mentioned, for now. And I think it'll still come out pretty cool. Now, there is one spot I screwed up, and I accidentally touched it when I had a little bit of that super glue on my fingers. And it looks like that section's just not going to take. I probably should have sanded it down real quick. But hey, it is what it is. Just keeping at it here, nice and patient. The color just turns what it does. I mean, so this is 3 sort of layers here, just continuing at it. Just going to do it by hand, take my time, let it soak in as best I can, put a little heat, and then in the end of it all, I'll let it dry real good overnight with the sheath. Like I said, then tomorrow we'll lop off the top of that guard. I'm almost thinking I'm going to strip the blade as well. I think that might be another good move for me, and then do a forced patina on the actual steel. But I want to do that at the very end because I do want to get a nice finish. And then this edge is fairly rough. Not the finest edge, that's for sure. So when it's all said and done, I think what I'm going to do is really put a nice edge on this. Try to get a reprofiled edge, sharpen it up, and then we'll get it out into the field for some fun. Now, I think a lot of this may just sit on the surface, which is cool. I'm alright with that. I don't mind the idea that over time some of it will wear away and give me that sort of reverse patina look. I've always enjoyed that. I've done it on a number of things, whether it's been copper items that I know that over time a patina is just going to wear away as I handle it. I'm alright with that. and that's kind of what's going to happen here. So even though I'm getting this kind of fairly green right now, by the end of me using this, it'll start to wear in certain spots back to the original leather color, but in other spots you'll see remnants of the green. It's going to be pretty cool over time. And so at this point, there you have it. Looks pretty dark, but it'll all make sense in the end. And now for the leather sheath. What is gonna happen? Well, who knows? Like I always say, just go for it. And if you look, the stitches are all white. Worst case scenario is the stitches will now be green, which is definitely neat. They kind of come out a little bit silvery, which I enjoy. And we'll see how much of this actually takes to the leather. Now, right away, it does look as though a good amount is just soaking right in. So even if this doesn't look completely green, like literally green, it's going to deepen up very nicely. And especially once I put that wax, between the wax and the green, this whole thing is just going to look awesome, nice and weathered looking and subdued. And the wax is really going to help to protect all the leather on this. So this is going to be a beautiful setup. I love doing this stuff. Part of the enjoyment about having a knife like this that's actually very affordable, you can just get one and play with it and not feel like you're going to break the bank if it doesn't come out perfect. This is how you learn. This is how, when you experiment, you grow and you gain experience. So why not give it a shot? Just go for it. So as you look here, just certain parts really taking to the deep green. This is going to take me a while. I'm going to go over this a few times. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to use my heat gun and let it all soak in. And then I'm just going to do it 2, 3, maybe 4 times. And then let it dry overnight so that by the end of it, I can get a good coat of wax, as I mentioned. And this thing's going to be ready for the field. Look at that color. It is unbelievable. I mean, you may not like that, but for me, that is just sweet. Has that super earthy look right now. Just mossy almost, like it's been sitting in a pile of just wilderness for years on end. I think that color is amazing, almost like a camo look. Now that's just one coat. I am going to keep going because I'm sure this will lighten up. But as you look here, the stitches are now green. This backside is like super green. Now the metal's going to get a little bit on there, no big deal. I'm just going to heat this up, let it take a little bit deeper into the leather. I'm going to do a couple more. Oh man, look at the top of this pouch. That just looks beautiful. I am super pumped about this. But yeah, gonna do a couple more coats just to deepen everything up, get a good overall even coat, because as I mentioned, I'm fairly certain once I really hit this with the wax, it'll probably lighten up a bit. Some of this will probably rub away, so I want to get as much to actually soak into the leather as possible. So as you can see here, I'm literally now just ponding this dye, just letting it sit right on top of the leather, just ponding it up. Now any of the spots that are more of the suede side are really taking. The smooth side, not nearly as much, but it is taking, and it's taking beautifully. It's not even, and I like that. I like the fact that it's kind of mottled looking, and it's really, really taking on a nice dark tone with the green undertones. So even if this isn't straight up green, I don't think I even want it to be straight up green. I want to see that brown. I want a little mottled look. I want this to have that sort of camouflage look and feel. This is a military knife style, and I think it's going to be cool to have this sheath looking the part. So at this point, essentially what I'm going to do is just hit it one last time with the hot air gun. I'm going to hang all of this up to dry. So while this is in the vise, I have this black paint marker, and I'm just going to attempt to go inside here, just like this. and I don't know if the paint's going to go all the way in, but yeah, it will. So I'm going to go through all these grooves with this black paint marker, darken up between all of these. I think that's going to look pretty sweet. So as you can see, I'm just slowly and carefully and methodically making my way around with this paint marker, getting it just only in the groove. So that, to me, is going to be a nice little addition to breaking up that handle. And so there, that's pretty awesome. So that went very well. The paint marker working absolutely perfect. So very simple, just a nice easy paint marker. Now again, I don't know how much of this green nor black is going to stay on this handle long term, but for right now it's fun, something to do, and it's a great experiment. Alright, so at this point it is still the same day, but the handle's very dry. I mean, I feel like everything's nicely dried out, and the last time I did this, the problem was I kind of smeared the wax onto the handle, and unfortunately it rubbed off some of the color. And as you look here, the color is just very rich and nice, and I think it looks great. So really what I'm going to do this time around is more melting wax onto the handle now, as I broke a big chunk off of my bar. Some nice slices did fall off. So what I'm going to do is just kind of get this up to temperature, let this all melt in, and then I'm just going to drip wax onto the handle and then just carefully wipe off the excess. Okay, so knife underway. Just going to leave that to the side for now. And let's get into this sheath. Same idea. I'm not going to move this around too much, just rather try and melt it and drip it into place. Alright, so the next step for me in this custom process here is to cut off this top guard. And based on my current situation, what I thought the best thing to do is use my angle grinder just to get it started, and then we'll see. From there, maybe I'll go to the belt sander, but I'm not sure. So first things for me, taking the bulk of the meat off with the angle grinder. We'll hope for the best. round one is done. So this is where your handy dandy Leatherman files come into play. You don't always need them, but when you need them, you need them. And this is the perfect size for this, just to kiss down these edges ever so nice. And you end up with both your coarse and fine side, which is awesome. So as long as I take my time and I'm careful here, I can just round this out all so nicely, getting on those points, just knocking them down, and this is going to be sweet. You can hear there transitioning to the fine. Just so soft at this point. That's awesome. Really softening the top of this guard here, rounding that all out, and that guard is completely gone. That's giving me a great indexing point there on the handle, which is going to be exactly what I like for my needs. So I just wanted to add a little detail to the blade, and I thought what I would do is just carefully sand this in, I'm not going to say like a satin pattern, but if I end up going through the finish, it is what it is. So just going to work this for a little bit and see what happens. Alright, so I removed a bunch of the finish, not 100%. Basically, it's kind of like, I don't know, semi-removed. But you can see that I went basically parallel to the direction of the knife blade. The bottom, the coating is still partially on, partially off. It's like right in the middle. But that is still not quite my finished product. It's funny, if you look at this side of the knife, the steel is all kind of pocked, just like pock marks all over it. But this side, it's fairly clean. So the machining is obviously something to be had, you know, whatever. It's, you know, a cheap knife, but still. But at this point, basically what I'm going to do is a mustard patina. So in short order, this will darken up. Now, I'm just going to do this without showing it completely on camera. If you're interested in seeing how I do my mustard patina, take a look at one of my prior videos for the details. But at this point, I'm going to get it started and we'll check it out at the end of the process. And so now, completing the modifications to this Ontario 499 mod. As you can see here, everything done to this green dye at this point, quite a bit different from the original package. Now, there is one thing that happened, and full disclosure, while I was working on getting this fully impregnated with the wax, unfortunately I did overheat it in a couple of spots, which made it kind of warp a little bit. I've since worked the leather out and tried to straighten it out. So that's the one thing that went a little bit wrong for me, but overall I do think this came out fairly well in the grand scheme of things. So a few things about the sheath. At this point, you can see it is taking on this beautiful color. I love the way it looks. That combination of the green and the browns, the original color showing through just a little bit, but the green, you can see the stitching there, just very bright, and that nice green color, it took to the thread very well. But there is still a little bit of wax here, as you see. I could probably polish this up just a little bit better, but for the most part, this is good and protected, ready for good durable outdoor use, and just looks the part. It looks like it's been beaten up and taken into battle and really used hard. Now, a few things I did when I wet formed this. First is the original pouch was used to hold a diamond stone. Well, as you can see here, I have formed this this so the diamond stone now slides behind the pouch, and that leaves the pouch itself still available for something like, for example, a mini Bic lighter, which it's a little bit tight, but it will slip in there no problem, and that's nice because it does give you a little bit additional functionality out of this sheath. So nice little modification there, went pretty well, and I am happy with that. Now taking a look at the knife, as you can see, obviously the handle now in that green color, the dye doing a pretty good job to coat it for the most part. I do have that one spot where unfortunately it didn't take due to the super glue, but as you look here, for the most part looking very good with that black sort of in the middle of each one of the rows of leather. So the stacked leather just having that overall sort of 3D look now, which I like. And as I deploy the knife, here you will see that I did a major modification to that guard, grinding it all the way down. I do not like the upper guard, so this for me will function much better. And as you look at the purchase on the knife at this point, very comfortable, able to bear down and get a good grip for some more of those sort of wilderness and bushcrafty tasks. So this for me definitely a better way to go. But softening out that entire guard, that went very well and looks really good. And as you look at the side of the knife now, you can see this definitely has a different look. So as I sanded down that finish, now at this point adding the little tiger sort of striped mustard patina, giving it my own custom look, custom feel, and something that I greatly enjoy. And then finally getting back on that edge, polishing it right up, getting it on my leather strop, really working it hard, getting a nice edge, and then ceramic rods and getting it back to hair popping sharp. This knife at this point is ready for some good quality hard field use. So alright guys, there you have it, a look at my Ontario 499 mod. Modifying this 499 has definitely been fun. I greatly enjoy it, and I need to go back again and just say thank you very much to Joe at Survival Attitude. So again, Joe at survival_attitude on Instagram. Thank you, Joe, for providing this. It has been a fun project. And at this point, I think I'm ready to start really comparing this against Joe's mods. If that's one thing, if you've seen some of my videos in the past and you've heard Joe talk about some of his knives, well, he pretty much mods everything, and you better believe that's been the case for him and his 499 mod as well. Overall, I think I did a fairly good job. I like the look, I like the feel. I think I could have done a better job on the sheath, but it still looks the part. You know, sometimes you run into a little problem when you're working on these things, but that's how you learn, that's how you grow, and that's how you improve in the future. So I made a couple of mistakes that I know I probably, I should say hopefully, won't make again, but I have to say, all things considered, I'm still very happy with the progress and the way this project turned out. So alright guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you liked what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.